Alright, you bastards, this is Some-Belgian-prepper, and today I want to talk about how to make energy, in this case electricity, for as a prepper without making big, how do you say this, big costs and investments. So this is more for regular people and not to build giant wind turbines or giant solar panels on your roof. That is in the partly how to do it more like improvisation, and also with smaller financial investments. So before we do that, if you're interested, this is first part of an 11-part series that I wrote called Bloody Crosses. It's in Dutch, and yeah, if you're interested, the link will be down in the description. So making your own energy. This is something actually you could do things without energy, but yeah, we live in a modern world, and yeah, for something like sometimes you could have a force multiplier by having some electrical devices like I have a night vision goggles, I have walkie-talkies, I have smartphones with all the information on top of it, computers, we lights. There is all these kind of things that you need to be able to recharge, and yeah, I would say there are several ways, some improvised and some are smaller investments that could help you. And this is not only in a prepper from a prepper's perspective, but it's also from a financial perspective. So if you are able, especially in these times with expensive electrical bills, it could be handy to have a way to relieve some of your electrical use. So you could charge some appliance at home. You can charge your phone on or your computer by it, and so you don't have to be dependent on the grid that much. So it could be an investment to save some energy in the long run. So I'm going to show you first a smaller devices to charge your electrical devices, and yeah. But first I want to talk about something that a lot of preppers make the mistake in, and I did too, and here are two of those mistakes. This is an example of you will find this in a lot of stores or on web shops. This is one of those solar panels that you can just open up and you could hang it on your backpack. But don't buy one of these. These are shit. These things, you could put them all day in optimal conditions, and it will not fully recharge a cell phone. So don't be tempted by thinking small. Sometimes, especially for energy, you need to do a little bit of investment and take a little bit size, because this is kind of shit. The same thing goes with this smaller solar panel. So yeah, it's one of those things that you could set up like this, but like you can see, it's very small. It's already, there is more work in the outer layer than in the inner layer, and these things, the problem was, even in good conditions, this thing would take energy from my cell phone rather than give it, because it's by the smallest clouds that went into the sun, this thing would go on and off, and that on and off went on my cell phone, and that used more energy than got into it. So don't be fooled like me by buying these very small things, then think, oh, I will charge my cell phone during my bug out. Nope, you will not do it like this. There are other options that I've tested out, and these are more viable. So I would say let's get started. One of my favorite ways was, for a bug out at least, is the BioLit stove. And yeah, you would say, how could a stove help? Well, this thing is, if you saw it in my previous videos, if you make energy with this, if you put a fire inside of it, it will start to heat up these elements. It will start to turn a ventilator. This ventilator blows air through beneath it, and then you have more efficient burning. But at the same time, while it's turning, it also produces energy for this battery. This is also a battery, as you perhaps can see, where you can put your USB inside of it. You can put on this, and you can see I used this thing how many times ago? I think I used this 3 months ago, and it's still this much charged. So yeah, this is actually kind of way you can cook, and at the same time make energy. This is good for a bug out and also for a bug in scenario. So you can recharge some smaller device on top of it, as like your smartphone, some batteries, and etc. But yeah, and another good thing about it, it's very compact. I'm going to close this off and take this out. You can put this in top of this, and it's smaller enough to take on your bug out bag, and it weighs, I would say, 2.5 kilograms. So yeah, for that price, having an efficient source of fuel for cooking, for cooking water, food, and also have energy. So this is 3-in-1. I would say get one of these for both bug in and bug out scenarios. Let's go to the next one. This is the only crank system that I have, and it is one of those emergency radios. And yeah, I would say the solar panels, it's just something to keep the battery. It's more handy to keep the battery a little bit up. Like if you don't use this in a lot of time, put it in a place where there is sunlight, and it will constantly a little bit charging up, so your battery won't get broken over a long period of time where you do not use it. But you can also use the crank system to charge it and use it as a power bank, if you can see. So you can recharge something small like an iPhone or smartphone or something or your batteries during your bug out, and use it. But yeah, you're using energy in the way of calories. But if you want energy to send to call someone or to charge some batteries for during a bug out, something like this could be handy. There are other how do you say this, cranked devices that could give energy, but you have to be, like I said again, with these piece of shit kind of gadgets. Do be very carefully about what you choose, because I once had one of those hand cranked, and it did nothing. I was cranking 10 minutes, and I could use my cell phone for not even 1 minute. So that's kind of really bad for the amount of volume and weight it has. But something like this, these emergency radio, especially this one, yeah, it's kind of good. It's decent. I can use it to charge up my phone, batteries, and yeah, just charging up the radio. So yeah, this is also a very good option where I'm actually happy with. And for the rest of the year, I put this in the window where it could get solared up in case I ever need it in emergency. So I would say let's go now to some other options that I use. And yeah, so that is a little bit of my electrical station. I've been doing some. I'm going to be honest. I'm not a person who is good with electricity, so this will be very, very, very improvised. But it kind of works even with an electrical dumbass like me. There are two systems that I use here to have electricity for my very small devices all year long. First of all, here we have two solar panels against the window, and I connected those with some smaller batteries and how do you say this, a charge controller. So yeah, so that's kind of easy. So when especially in the summertime, I can constantly recharge some of my smaller devices on top of it. And yeah, it did not cost that much, but that's a problem for in the winter time. During the winter time, yeah, there's not a lot of sun, especially not in Belgium. So what do I install for that? I hope you can see it. I installed on a very improvised way a small wind turbine. Yeah, for some reason it's now not blowing wind. So, but during the winter and autumn in Belgium, there is always a lot of wind. So with that, when that's turning, the problem is for a wind turbine, for especially this smaller wind turbine, you need about 22 meters of wind for each second to be charging up. Everything below that will not really charge your battery. And that's kind of a problem, because you have to put it very high where there is always wind, or you have to have always windy days. So that's the reason why I put two systems together to always have a small source of electricity. So in this case, I used a car battery that I improvised. And yeah, the thing is, you can clamp something like this up. You can you can see, you can clamp this to the car battery, and then you have how do you say this? A plug where you can plug in some bigger devices. So yeah, you have several improvised ways to do these things. Something like with the solar panel, I can put one of these sockets into this plug, and I can still get some energy from it. And yeah, that's something I would say. Oh, if you perhaps can see, now the wind turbine is finally turning because there is some wind. And yeah, and there is, I would say, have diversity. Have some diversity in your electrical grid system. So it will not be spectacular. You will not be able to use some heavy power tools with this. But like I said, smaller devices, constantly recharging. That's no problem. Let's go to another system of mine that I recently bought and tested out, and I'm really happy with it. So, if you perhaps can see, this is a little setup that I made with the BioLite solar panels of 100 watts, and this is the solar panels, and it is, if you perhaps can see, the BioLite battery. And now, oh, it's 100% full now, and I'll put it in from today from 71%, and yeah, this will recharge fully in 6 hours when there is full sun, like you can see now. And yeah, I'm really happy with this thing because this thing is powerful enough. I will take it out. I leave it in the bag so it will not get wet by a surprise rain or animals that could just harm it. So, and to keep it out of the sun. So this thing, you can see it has several sockets, USB ports, and it can be recharged by the solar panel and also by input with a USB. So you can put, if you don't have a bigger solar panel like this, you can also put on some smaller solar panels. Of course, this will take some longer time to recharge, but this one beast of a battery, this I can still use with some I can hang on some power tools on top of this. So I would say this is more handy as a sort of portable home battery in case your fridge is going down, if you need some power tools. And yeah, that way you can keep on going while it still can. And it's also very handy, one of these home batteries, in case you have somebody who has in need of an electrical device. My grandfather used to be hanging on an how do you call this, one of these oxygen apparatus, and yeah, if the electricity went down, he could not really breathe. So I would say one of these batteries could save someone's life if they are dependent on electricity, like this oxygen machine, like I said. And yeah, this is a very good solar panel. It costs a lot, but I'm very happy with it. And another good thing about it is, I will put my camera a little bit down. You can clap this fucker up, close it down, and as you can now see, it is very light, portable to carry. You can carry this is even small enough to carry in a bucket bag. So if you're in a group, one person can carry the solar panels, and this is 8 kilograms, and it still has so much power. So yeah, I would say get one of these. If you are serious about energy, I would say this would be a very good asset to your prepper survival system. And yeah, it will take a long, if there is less light, it can take a few days to recharge fully, but in full sun, like in summer times, only 6 hours to fully charge and be able to use power tools and bigger apparatus. So yeah, let's go to the next part. So another pet peeve of a lot of preppers is a generator. This is a small compact generator, and yeah, a generator could be handy for preppers in case of emergency, like I said before. And the benefit of this kind of generator is it can be used all year long, but there are also some downsides on it. If you have one of these one of these generators, they usually will use gasoline, but what a lot of people don't know is if you're going to use a generator like this, it's not only gasoline that you're going to need. It will also be oil, motor oil, that you will have to mix. It stands on this. You will have to mix one portion of oil for every 40 portions of gasoline. So that's something you need to keep in mind to keep this optimal running. And yeah, I would also say this is also for maintenance, because yeah, I'm not really big with electricity, so always keep the manual with of the generator in case there are problems, or for maintenance, because this thing will need a lot of maintenance if you're going to keep it running a lot of times. So I would advise, if you're going to get one of these, only use them if you're going to, every time you use them, give them some maintenance. And if you're going to use it and you have to use it everything of the gasoline, because if you're not going to use it a lot of time, some of the gasoline will spoil and it will not run optimally, and even perhaps break your generator. So this is one of those, those pull generators. Like I said, you can use it every time of the year, but I said about the downsides, and there is only one more downside, and that is it can make a lot of noise. And if you want to be low key, be stealthy, be a gray man, and everybody is in a blackout, and you are running this thing, everybody will hear it in your neighborhood. So try to put it in a place where there is not a lot of sound. But there is also a problem, because if you're don't use this inside, because it's like a motor, and there will be it will create monoxide and CO2. So if you put this in a closed space, after a long time, it can give monoxide poisoning. So you have to put it outside, but yet again, outside everybody will hear it. So you have to put it either in a garage where it's ventilated, but a little bit hard to detect from outside where it's coming from. So yeah, this is more something for emergency, or if you're not going to use it all the time, I would say use it as a bartering item. So that people can, in exchange for gasoline or some other service or whatever, charge their devices on top of it. And it can also be used for, like I said, medical apparatus that are vital for certain persons with certain afflictions. So let's go to the next one. So right now I'm in my car, and a car is also a way to get some electricity, because a car has a motor, an alternator, and that creates energy for the car, of course. But you can tap some of that energy to charge up some small devices. I know some people will say, but that you will use more petrol. But if you don't, if the grid is down or there's a blackout and you really need to charge up your phone or some other devices, it could be done in an improvised way in this. So there are three ways I would say you can create some energy, but like I said, you have to use it very, very wisely. Otherwise, you will have the risk that you will break or deplete the car battery. So this is something you only do in an utmost emergency, like for radios or something. And one of the things you can do is, just for every day, you can just use one of these, if you perhaps can see it, because it's a little bit sunny. You can use one of these plugs, and these have a portal for your USB, and you put them in a cigarette lighter button. Plug, as you hopefully can see. Put it in, and you can charge smaller devices like an iPhone, a smartphone, or some batteries on with this. Very cheap, very easy, and you can do it in everyday travel. So you won't have. It's also useful. So if you are, how do you say, in everyday travel, work, whatever, your phone is almost going down, at least you have a way to charge this up that way. But for bigger devices, like something that use a plug, it can be also used, like I said before. I have one of these plugs, and you can put this in the cigarette lighter, yet again, of the car, and you can use it to charge up some bigger devices. But if you do not have a plug, perhaps because it's a modern car or whatever, there is one of these, like I said before, you can use this on a car battery with the two clamps, You can do it in the front of the car, open the hood of the car and put it on the right side, right pole of the battery, and you can use energy that way. But you have to be very, very carefully with this so you don't deplete your car battery. But yeah, and I once saw a family who used an old car that was not able to drive on the road because it had some mechanical problems, but the motor was still running. So what did they do? They they used the wheels of the car that were still turning, and they connected it with a dynamo. And it was like when they drove the car, when they were driving the car, they made electricity that way for their household. I don't know how feasible this is in a financial way, but in an improvised way, it can be used to charge up a bigger radio to get more distance, to get a signal out for help or something. So yeah, this is another way to gain some electricity. Yeah, another thing you can do is if you have a bicycle and this bicycle has a dynamo, it can be one of those dynamos that could be put against the side of the wheel, or you have like here a built-in dynamo. If you can use the plus and the minus pole of the lamp where the dynamo would be used, you can tap it off to put in a converter and then lead it to a battery. So you can turn your bicycle into a small bicycle dynamo actually. So yeah, if you have a little bit know-how of how to do electricity, if you have a bike with a dynamo, you can create some electricity if you're smarter than me in that way. So that is one of those. I bought this in a how do you say this, a second-hand store, thrift store. I don't know what the English name is, but I bought this only for €5, and actually, in the first place, it was more something to do to work on my condition and fitness during winter periods where it's always raining outside, especially in Belgium. So yeah, but I was thinking when I had this thing, like if I could convert this and put a hand crank on top of it. I had some ideas to put if my wind turbine was not feasible, I would connect it to that and make it turn. Or you can put a hand crank system on top of it, or you can create your own dynamo system. And somehow, well, then you can you can perhaps pedal your own electricity if you have some technical know-how to turn this into a bicycle dynamo yet again. So yeah, I would say try to be creative. Try to use try to use some manuals or look it up on the internet, because your knowledge, your skills will make you able to use anything you have to turn it into the goal you want. Do more with less. If you have something, try to make, in an emergency situation, try to make things of it to turn into energy, in an asset for prepping. And that is what prepping is all about. Like I said in the beginning of the video, you can buy a whole set of solar panels on your roof. You can put a whole wind turbine system in your backyard, or there are other options like making a biodiesel generator or something. You can do that all if you have money, but if you're a regular Joe like me, you do not have a lot of money to invest in bigger systems. But if you can create smaller systems, you can save some money up or get by when times are dire, and perhaps build yourself up to that way. Start small and let yourself grow with knowledge, experience, and perhaps financial in that way. So yeah, let's go to the next one. Another way to get some electricity, and yeah, this could be more handy for a blackout or a short-term period where there is no electricity. This is a jump starter system. You probably know a jump start unit from a car, like those big boxes with the two clamps on top of it. This is a smaller version of it, when you can not only put those clamps connected to it, but also charge up as a huge power bank. So this is strong enough to charge up a car, and it's strong enough to, how do you say this, to charge up some bigger appliances, electrical devices. So yeah, a start jump unit could be used as a sort of big battery to tap off on in cases of emergency. So yeah, this could be, and especially this one is very small enough to even put, excuse me, into a bug out bag. But yeah, there are also other types of power banks. We all know power banks comes in a lot of sizes, and you have to be very carefully in which power banks you actually choose. So yeah, you can charge these. You can charge these up in good times. You can charge them up at your job or in your car. So in case when you need something to charge the device, you can always take one of the power banks that you have and use it in emergency. But I would advise to not to look at the reviews of the power banks, because some are shit, some are very amazing, and yeah, that is something that you really need to watch out for if you get them. But to be honest, this is one of those power banks with a small solar panel, and it's not worth it to get one of those devices with solar panels up in onto them, because these are too small to really do something. It's just a little gadget that really does not do anything. Perhaps there are some on the market that will work better, but in my opinion, and here in Belgium, it's not really feasible to charge this up with these kind of smaller panels. And I never had the luck to get one of these good solar panels on top of a power bank device. So that's something. Electricity is not really my thing. So yeah, I think we are almost I think we're done actually. So what do we learned about this? You can use your imagination, your technical skills, your knowledge, and you can make energy if you want to. So keep manuals about electricity into your library, a book like not so, like a physical book, a hardcover, and not that you have to look it up on the internet while the electricity is down. So yeah, that's something that you need to think about. Learn some skills, and yeah, be prepared in any way that you are personally have the know-how of your financial status. Try to work within your means to grow bigger, I would say. And yeah, if you have any other ideas to use some improvised things in your home, in the usual home, to make energy, please let me know in the comments. I'm always eager to learn. And my last tip would be use as many devices that does not need electricity. You probably saw in previous videos about like my how I do my laundry, because my washing machine is 78 years old, still works fine, does not use electricity, and it still does the trick. And yeah, try build a stove into your backyard. Uh, don't try to. The best thing is try to be not that dependent upon the grid, because if the grid is down, the people who are dependent on it will go crazy, and then they will come to look for you to charge their cell phones. And yeah, then we are going to have to talk about self-defense. So yeah, I would say thank you for watching, and see you in the next video. Cheers.